Among my many interests as a composer, producer and musician, sampling is a real treasure for me. Just me and a microphone playing with ideas. If it doesn't work, then fine, but if it does, it's like liquid gold. If I'm being really honest, I guess it's an opportunity for me just to rub my fingerprints all over a project to make it truly mine, because I made the tones that went on to play that music. Find an idea, immortalise it, make it sing forever. Look for hidden gems in the chaos of daily life, and you'll be really rewarded by unique ideas that completely change the compositional game for you. It can feel a little bit unpredictable at first, but eventually you will start to develop a knack for what takes well to a sampler, and once you can do that, you need to search for those sounds, and you can start to sort of reverse engineer what makes great sample libraries just work straight out of the box. In my findings as a creator, I found a common thread throughout successful products and artists. When I see an artist who has succeeded above all others, it's not necessarily their technical ability or they're changing the way we think about art, it's their authenticity, how naturally they're able to express their voice. I think sample libraries are much the same, and I'm quite happy these days to buy a library that maybe doesn't do everything but inspires me straight out of the box, a simple idea that was recorded and produced with intention. This is something that I touched on in my recent video about my Thrumming Textures Earth library, which if you haven't checked out yet is free and available via the links down below. Now, why would I, a small sample creator, want to advertise the work of another small sample creator? Well, I believe that everyone should have access to the best sounds, and this one really took me aback. So I'm here today to show you Fracture Sound's Woodchester, which is not a new piano, I don't think, but it's new to me the last kind of month or so, and I just absolutely love it, so I had to show it to you. Produced with James Everingham, it's very much got drama and film music at the centre of its intentions, but what I find other pianos doing badly, Woodchester does so brilliantly. The authenticity and the deliberateness of this piano is above many I've tried. It's not the jack of all trades, but it's certainly the master of one. I recently received stems for a track from a friend, and it was just piano and vocals, and it's the first time that I've ever been tricked into thinking that it was a real piano, and I didn't believe that it was MIDI until I received the Logic project, and there it was, Woodchester. As of right now, this piano is on sale, so grab it while you can, but normally it retails for about £60 plus VAT. Additionally, an update has just come out which makes it compatible with the free Kontakt player. Until now, you've had to have the full version of Kontakt to use it, so that's a bonus. Okay, so this is the Woodchester piano. As you can see, it's here in the instrument browser. We've got the legacy version, which is version 1.0, and then we've got this version here, which is the latest version here. So on the right hand side, you can see this layer mixer. Raw is the actual notes themselves, and then Ache, Dream and Clouds are what they call their playable pads. And what's quite nice with this update is you can just click on it and then you can decide which output you want to set it to. So if you want to have it as a sort of separate auxiliary track or have a different set of effects on it, things like that, you can do that quite easily. You can also mute and solo each of the elements, but this is the kind of default sound that loads up, and I'm just going to give you a quick play of what it sounds like. And you can hear, if you just let it sustain for a little bit, you can hear the effects come in. If I just turn these up a little bit louder, you'll be able to hear those elements. What a beautiful piano. So this raw samples is just the piano. And I suppose now is a good way for us to see the other controls. So we've got this colour, which is really just a tone knob. So if I turn this all the way down to -50, you get a much more kind of thuddy sound. which can make it sound really intimate. But if I turn this up to 50, we get a much brighter sound, which is more likely to cut through a mix. I tend to put it on about -20, and this just gives you a slightly softer attack, but doesn't take out the transients altogether. We've also got this stereo width here, so this is going to adjust how wide the stereo image is of the instrument. So if I have it all the way down at -50, this is relatively mono. It's not completely mono, I don't think. And if I turn it up, it's very much at the sides. We're kind of missing some of the middle there. So I actually think the 0 is kind of perfect, really. It's very much designed as an intimate sound, so it sounds as if it's right in front of you. It doesn't sound like a wide hall or anything like that. Although, speaking of hall, you do have this reverb control. Now, this is a sort of percentage, I suppose, so if we put it all the way up to 100%, if we take it all the way down to 0, that's absolutely no reverb at all. So even though the reverb doesn't add a huge amount of room in this setting, which is clean hall, it does just help to cover up the release. It's very natural sounding. Now you can use this cog here to go to a couple of other controls. You've got this velocity response, and in fact if I just click on this info, you can see what it does. So this knob controls the sample offset for sample start. So a little slower to respond, but it enables then the initial attack of your finger hitting the key, which can make it sound a little bit more realistic. Whereas this is very much on the edge of the note. So depending on the types of music that you're playing, you might want a little bit of give, or if you're playing faster passages, you might want it to be a little bit more immediate there. And then the velocity response, if I turn this all the way down, very little is being affected by how I'm kind of playing the keys, whereas up here, you have to really kind of hit the keys to activate those louder samples. So I'm probably going to leave that about where it was. Now, something that I'd quite like really is to be able to double click and for it to reset back to the default position, particularly on things like this. If I wanted it to go back to 0, I've got to actually move it back up to the 0. A small thing, but just something that kind of makes it a little bit slower to get back into things. So this is the Reverb IR, and as you can see here, we've got 7 different presets. This is the clean hall, which at the moment is set to 50%. In fact, if I just turn this up to about 75 or something, 76, this is the warm stage. Got the big ol' hall. Much longer decay there. If I turn that down a little bit. Still very natural sounding. I find that all of these sound particularly just natural. You know, it blends very well with the original samples. Spring. Then we've got the small plate, medium plate, and then large plate. So that just sort of varies the sustain. I quite like the clean hall as it is, and I'm going to unsolo the raw now to allow each one to come through. So if we just play through what the ache sounds like. So it's quite mid-rangey. It sounds like there's maybe a little bit of sort of phasing somehow. but the sustain is really nice. This is the Dream one. I think this is my favourite one. Sounds like they've got some reverse things happening in there, the way it's sort of crescendoing back into the transients. Really like that sound. And then this is the clouds layer. So this is really nice for building up that stereo width. These are all very quiet sounds. They are designed to sort of blend in underneath. It would have been nice really if they were a little bit louder out of the box maybe, but not really a complaint. And if I now introduce them again. And if I kind of dial it back into a mix that you'd normally expect. Now we've got some piano noises here, which are really nice. So this is the key release. I've turned this up to 100%. Quite a natural sound. Again, you probably wouldn't want that at 100%. It just adds a little bit of realism. And also, like the reverb, helps to cover up the sound of the release. You wouldn't really want a piano just to stop dead, because obviously you're used to hearing the ambience of the room. We've also got the pedal, which is nice. A little bit of panning there to make it a little bit different sounding. And again, they've got this faded down to 50 as a default. Now, this is something that you don't normally see in a library, which is the pianist noises. And basically, as you turn it up, the pianist gets more and more fidgety. Now, you'd probably fire the pianist if they were fidgeting around like that during the recording. However, if you turn it down to about 10, those occasional little noises really add to the realism of the piano. Now, the one thing I haven't done is adjusted this atmosphere intensity, and I presume that it's something to do with the effects we've got. So if I just turn these up, so it sounds like some kind of high cut filter that's just gradually kind of pulling the top off those notes. At the very, very top, you can hear every single little transient in the kind of upper frequencies. Whereas this cuts down to probably about 700 hertz or something, so that's quite nice. Again, they've got it set to 75 as default. Now, one of the things that makes this piano so special is when you kind of pop open the hood, as it were, and have a look and see what they've done, you realise just how simple this piano is. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff happening underneath that I haven't really sort of gone in depth and looked at. But what I know for sure is there are just 2 round robins, piano pedal up and pedal down. So When we have the pedal up, none of the other strings are resonating, just the note that we've played. So if I play one note, and it probably doesn't help that I've got these other elements turned all the way up, so I'm going to mute those for now. Just the key. If I press the pedal down and then engage the same note, there's just a little bit more resonance. The sustain pedal has sort of lifted the dampers of all the strings, and you can kind of hear each of the strings interacting with each other. There's a little bit of sympathetic resonance where the harmonic series is sort of interacting with each other. So you hear the octave above the fundamental note, and then a fifth above that, and then another octave, etc., etc. So that sounds particularly nice. You can also see here just 3 dynamic layers. So at the very, very bottom, that's the very bottom one. This is the kind of middle layer. And then finally the very louder one. Really, really, really lovely piano. Of course, you've got the various different ambient noises, which are just sort of created as pads underneath. And then you've got the pianist noises as well. So it sounds as if whenever you're playing a note, it sort of automatically generates a note at the bottom that plays this sample. And if we have a look in the wave editor, we can see here that the note is a minute long of various sort of fidgety noises. So I presume in places there are going to be chair creaks there, and then this first one is minimal 3, which is 47 seconds long. So again, just a little bit of sort of silence that gets played over the top, a little bit of room ambience, things like that help just make it a little bit more realistic. Overall, I'm really, really impressed by this piano. I believe there's another piano by Fracture Sounds called Midnight Grand, which I haven't tried out yet, but I think that's a Steinway Model D, I think. So it's very much more a concert grand sound. But I believe with that one, they've also sort of embedded it with felt as well. So I guess more of the same sound, really, a soft piano sound. I would wholeheartedly recommend this piano to you if you are in the market for an upright piano, or you just want another upright piano. I think grab it while it's on discount, and with this new update you're able to use it with the free Kontakt player, which is going to be very attractive for people. Now, I'm not paid by Fracture Sounds to advertise this piano. I'm just interested in it and thought I should show it to you, and I've also got a piece of music which I'm going to show you at the end of this video to kind of show you in action how I would use this piano with a little bit of ear candy, a bit of strings and things like that. But if you enjoyed this video, do please hit like and subscribe if you haven't done already. Lots of really exciting videos to come, and I'll see you again very, very soon.